The year is 1147. Outside these walls, the world is a storm of chaos and war. But in here, you've chosen a different kind of battle. A fight against the self, waged in silence and prayer. Don't mistake this for a peaceful retreat. Your day kicks off at 2 a.m., not with a gentle sunrise, but with a cold, hard floor under your knees and a level of discipline that would break most people today. You've entered a world that moves to an ancient, silent rhythm. Welcome to 24 hours in a medieval monastery. The first sound to crack the dead quiet of the night is a bell. It isn't a gentle chime. It's a sharp, demanding clang that slices through the cold. It's 2 a.m. While the rest of the world sleeps, your day has already begun. You don't get up from a comfortable bed. You rise from a straw mattress on a wooden plank in the shared dormitory. There's no time to hesitate, no hitting the snooze button. You actually sleep in your rough woolen tunic, having only taken off your knife for safety. The cold is a constant enemy, seeping in through the stone walls. There's no fire for warmth, no comfort to be had except in the ritual that's about to start. You join your brothers, a silent line of shadows drifting through the dark halls of the cloister. The only light comes from a few flickering candles, which make your shadows dance against the stone arches. Your destination is the chapel, the heart of the monastery. It's just as cold as the dormitory, a huge, echoing space where you can see your own breath. This first prayer is called Matins, the night office. It's the longest and most serious of the 8 prayer times that will shape your entire day. You find your spot in the choir stalls, the polished wood smooth but unforgiving. And then, the chanting starts. For the next 2 hours, your voice joins a chorus of Latin psalms, a wave of sound that has followed this same rhythm for centuries. You might not understand every Latin word, especially if you couldn't read when you joined, but you feel the meaning. This is spiritual warfare. You're a soldier for God, and these hours before dawn are a battle against the darkness, a vigil you keep for the soul of the sleeping world. Your body is aching with exhaustion, your mind is foggy with sleep, but this is what you signed up for: to deny your body, to discipline your will, and to offer this sacrifice to God. Just as the first hint of gray light appears, Matins flows right into Lauds, the prayer of praise at dawn. The mood shifts. The chants become more hopeful, celebrating light's victory over darkness, a symbol of Christ's resurrection. You've made it through the night. After nearly 3 hours of continuous prayer, you're dismissed. You're allowed a short break, but any sleep you get is shallow and brief. You return to your straw bed, the chant still ringing in your ears. The sun isn't even up yet, but a huge chunk of your day's work is already done. This life is designed to strip away your ego and personal comfort, to remake you into an instrument of God. You aren't here to be happy. You're here to be holy. At 6 a.m., the bell rings again. This is for prime, the first hour of daylight and the official start of the day. After the prayers are sung, you don't head off to breakfast. Instead, the whole community files into the chapter house. This is one of the only times the abbot, the monastery's spiritual father, will speak to all the monks directly. The chapter house is where the community is built and disciplined. First, there's a reading from the Rule of Saint Benedict, the 6th century book that governs every single moment of your life. Its words are a constant reminder of your vows, poverty, chastity, and obedience. Then comes the toughest part of the morning. Monks are expected to publicly confess their failures from the day before. Maybe you got distracted during prayer, said a sharp word, or felt a moment of pride. The abbot listens and gives you your penance. The goal isn't to shame you, but to build humility and make sure no resentment builds up in the community. Finally, the abbot assigns the day's work. The Benedictine motto is ora et labora, pray and work. According to the rule, Idleness is the enemy of the soul, so your day is a mix of both. Your job depends on your skills and what the monastery needs. You could be sent to the fields to plow, to the gardens to tend vegetables, or to the kitchens to help cook. If you can read and write, you might be assigned the most revered job of all, working in the Scriptorium. Here, in total silence, you copy manuscripts. Before the printing press, this was the only way to preserve and share knowledge. Every stroke of your quill pen is an act of devotion, whether you're copying the Bible, the works of church fathers, or even classical texts from ancient Greece and Rome. You are a living bridge to the past, making sure civilization's fragile flame doesn't go out. Other monks might work in the infirmary, taking care of sick brothers or people from the local village, using their knowledge of herbal medicine. After the meeting, it's time for a simple breakfast in the refectory or dining hall. It might just be a hunk of bread and some watered-down ale or wine. All meals are eaten in total silence. One monk reads a holy text out loud, so you're feeding your soul while you feed your body. Conversation is forbidden. It's seen as a path to gossip and vanity. You even use a basic sign language for essential communication. As the first work period begins, the monastery is filled with a quiet hum of activity. The clang of a blacksmith's hammer, the scratch of a quill on parchment, the low murmur of private prayer. It all blends together. You own nothing, not even the clothes on your back. Your life isn't your own. It's a constant offering of work and prayer. Your morning's work is broken up by the bell. At 9 a.m., it rings for Terce, the third hour. No matter what you're doing, you stop. If you're in the fields, you kneel right there on the ground. If you're in the Scriptorium, you put down your quill. These short prayer services, along with Sext at noon and none at 3 p.m., are like stitches holding the day together. They make sure your mind never wanders too far from God. At noon, the bell for Sext signals the middle of the day and the end of morning work. This prayer is followed by the main meal, and it's the biggest one you'll get. You file into the dining hall, washing your hands at the stone basin in the cloister before entering. The rule of silence is absolute. The food is simple, reflecting your vow of poverty. A typical meal would be some dark bread, a thick stew of vegetables like beans and lentils, and maybe fish if there's a river or pond nearby. You get a ration of wine or ale, which was often safer to drink than water. Meat from four-legged animals is completely forbidden unless you're very sick. This diet isn't about being healthy in the modern sense. It's about discipline. Denying the body rich foods was a way to train the will. Even eating is a spiritual exercise. While you eat, a designated reader stands at a podium, reading from the lives of the saints or from Scripture. You listen as you chew, the story of a martyr's sacrifice offering a sharp contrast to your humble bowl of pottage. The only sounds are the reader's voice and the scrape of spoons in wooden bowls. On fasting days, like Wednesdays and Fridays, you might skip this meal entirely, especially during Lent. Only the monks doing the hardest physical labor, like harvesting crops, would be excused. Hunger was just another tool for spiritual growth, an emptiness in the body meant to create more room for God. After the meal, there's a short rest period. Some of the older monks who have been up since 2 a.m. might take a quick nap. Others might practice Lectio Divina, a slow meditative reading of Scripture, or maybe you just find a quiet spot in the garden to walk and think. This small break is precious before the bell rings again and the afternoon's work begins. The brief, quiet rest after the meal is shattered by the bell calling you back to work. The sun is high and a sense of duty settles back over the monastery. You return to your assigned task, back to the fields, the Scriptorium, the workshop, or the infirmary. The day is long and the rule of Saint Benedict is clear. Every hour must be used well. At 3 p.m., the bell rings for none, the 9th hour. This prayer is especially important because it marks the hour that Christ died on the cross. The chants are serious and reflective, a moment to pause your work and think about the ultimate sacrifice. It's a powerful spiritual anchor in the middle of a long afternoon of hard work. By now, the exhaustion is a constant ache in your back and shoulders, but this is part of the discipline. This physical struggle is meant to mirror the spiritual struggle against sin. And the work continues. If you're in the fields, you might be bringing in the harvest that the monastery depends on to survive. These communities were built to be completely self-sufficient. The grain you harvest becomes the bread you eat. The grapes you pick become wine for the mass. If you're a craftsman, like a carpenter or stonemason, you're keeping the abbey itself from falling apart, maybe fixing a leaky roof or carving a new stone for the cloister. For the monks in the Scriptorium, the afternoon light is precious. You work as long as the sun allows, carefully forming each letter. A single book could take months or even years to complete. It's painful, eye-straining work, often done in a cold room where fires are forbidden because they're a risk to the priceless manuscripts. Your fingers are cramped and your back is stiff, but you know how important this work is. You're not just a copyist. In an age when most people can't read, you are a guardian of civilization. As the afternoon wears on, the pace is steady. There's no rush, just the consistent rhythm of the job. The monastery works like one body, with each monk doing his part for the good of the whole. This shared effort, done mostly in silence, creates a powerful bond. As the sun begins to sink, you know the day's labor is almost over. Soon, the bell for Vespers will ring, and you'll shift from the work of your hands back to the work of the Spirit. As the sun goes down, around 6 p.m., the bell for Vespers rings. This is the evening prayer, one of the most important of the day. You gather again in the chapel, which is now dim and smells of beeswax candles. The fading light through the high windows creates a feeling of deep peace. The chants for Vespers are usually psalms of thanks for the day that's passed and prayers for protection through the night. After Vespers, there's a light supper called the collation. It's even smaller than the midday meal, maybe some leftover bread, a piece of fruit, and water. This is followed by a group reading in the chapter house, where the abbot might offer some final spiritual guidance for the day. Around 8 or 9 p.m., the final bell of the day tolls for Compline. This is the last prayer service, a short and quiet ritual to close the day. The name comes from a Latin word meaning completion. The prayers ask for a peaceful night and protection from the dangers of the dark, both real and spiritual. Right after Compline, the Great Silence begins. This is the strictest silence of the day, and it lasts all night until the next morning's chapter meeting. No one speaks a single word unless it's a dire emergency. This isn't just about being quiet, it's a spiritual discipline. It's meant to calm the mind, allowing you to reflect on your day and be more aware of God's presence. It also has a practical purpose. It makes sure everyone can rest without being disturbed. After the abbot sprinkles you with holy water, you file out of the chapel and head to the dormitory in total quiet. The day that began in darkness more than 18 hours ago now ends in darkness. You lie down on your simple bed, still fully clothed, for just a few hours of sleep before that bell rings again at 2 a.m., starting the whole cycle over. The rhythm is relentless. The discipline is absolute. It is a life boiled down to the two things that have defined every single moment of your day: to pray and to work. This 24-hour cycle was the engine of medieval monastic life. It was a tough, repetitive, and unforgiving routine, a far cry from any romantic idea of a peaceful escape. The lack of sleep, the plain food, the hard labor, and the constant discipline were all designed for one purpose: to break an individual's will and rebuild it in the image of Christ. This wasn't an escape from the world. It was a head-on collision with the self, A spiritual war fought every hour of every day. Monks weren't looking for comfort inside these stone walls. They were looking for salvation. And in doing so, they believed they were performing a vital service for a chaotic world, praying for its soul, and in the quiet of the Scriptorium, preserving the very foundations of Western thought for generations they would never meet. If you found this journey into the medieval monastery fascinating, please show your support by hitting the like button, subscribing to the channel, and ringing the notification bell so you don't miss our next deep dive into history. Thank you for watching.